Welcome, everyone. Tonight's topic is a gentle but mysterious one. We'll be talking about UFOs appearing over major cities. So find a comfortable place to rest, let your body grow heavy, and let your thoughts drift higher and higher into the night sky. Across the years, people have seen strange lights and silent shapes moving above crowded streets and glowing skylines. Together, we'll travel through 12 chapters of these stories, letting each one guide you further into quiet and peace. Chapter 1: The Battle of Los Angeles, 1942. The night of February 25th in 1942 was unusually still over Los Angeles. The usual hum of distant traffic and the faint murmur of trains along the tracks seemed muffled, as though the city itself was holding its breath. Tension hung in the air like a heavy fog, a combination of wartime anxiety and an instinctive unease that ran through every neighborhood. Families had been living with fear for months. Rumors of Japanese air attacks on the West Coast circulated constantly, and civil defense measures had become a regular part of life. Blackouts had already been enforced, street lights dimmed, and citizens were instructed to extinguish home lights at night. The night sky was a canvas of dark uncertainty, and the city's residents slept lightly, aware that the danger might come from above at any moment. Just past 2 in the morning, the calm fractured. Military searchlights, their beams cutting through the low-hanging fog, began sweeping the sky. The operators, eyes strained and fingers tense, followed blips and shadows that seemed to move in impossible ways. And then the lights appeared glowing, hovering objects unlike anything the city had ever seen. Some were orbs, pulsing softly with a golden hue. Others were disc-shaped, metallic and dark, reflecting the sporadic beams of the searchlights. There were lantern-like shapes, cylinders, even forms that defied easy description. Witnesses would later describe the objects' movements with a mix of awe and terror. They rotated and tilted as if aware of the searchlights tracking them. They split into multiple smaller lights, then recombined seamlessly into a single formation. Some hovered motionless, almost like observers of the chaos below. Others shot across the sky in sudden, impossible accelerations, zigzagging in ways no aircraft of the era could manage. The motion was deliberate, intelligent, and utterly alien to the observers watching from the ground. Panic quickly spread through the streets. Anti-aircraft guns roared to life, tracer rounds streaking across the foggy sky, explosions reverberating through buildings and alleyways. Windows rattled in apartment blocks, dogs barked frantically, and families huddled in their homes, hearts pounding in tandem with the distant gunfire. Yet, despite hundreds of shells fired, nothing fell from the sky. There were no wreckages, no enemy planes, not even fragments of balloons. The objects disappeared as suddenly as they had arrived, leaving only scorched air and trembling nerves. Eyewitness accounts painted a vivid and surreal tableau. On a rooftop in downtown Los Angeles, a night watchman reported seeing metallic discs tilting slightly, as if inspecting the streets below, before accelerating into the darkness. On the Santa Monica coast, a couple saw lantern-like orbs hovering over the waves, their reflections shimmering across the water, swaying in harmony with the undulating tide. Children woke crying, drawn out of bed by a low, constant hum and sudden flashes of light, while their parents struggled to calm their own rising panic. Radar operators were baffled. Blips appeared and disappeared erratically, sometimes halting mid-air, sometimes moving faster than any known aircraft could achieve. The military scrambled to provide explanations, suggesting nerves, weather balloons, or misidentified aircraft, but the evidence told a different story. Searchlights had tracked real objects, radar operators had confirmed them, and multiple independent witnesses observed the phenomena simultaneously. In the days that followed, newspapers were filled with reports and speculation. Headlines screamed of UFOs over Los Angeles, phantom attacks, an unknown aircraft moving through the city skies. The public demanded answers, and the military released cautious statements, attempting to maintain calm while investigating. Some suggested the lights were secret experimental planes, while others proposed more sinister or mysterious possibilities. UFO enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists would later cite this event as one of the earliest encounters with unexplained aerial phenomena in the modern era. The night left lasting impressions. Survivors recounted the eerie quiet that followed the disappearance of the objects. A thick fog remained over the city, pierced only by the exhausted searchlights now slowly dimming. Birds were silent, dogs whined in confusion, and the city held its breath until dawn. Historians and researchers have since pieced together what happened using witness statements, military reports, and radar logs. But many questions remain. The movements of the objects were precise and intelligent, their speed and agility unmatched by contemporary technology. Their appearance and disappearance were abrupt and deliberate. The night was chaotic, frightening, and undeniably mysterious. Even decades later, the Battle of Los Angeles, 1942, continues to haunt the collective imagination. It was a night when the sky itself seemed to defy explanation, when ordinary citizens watched from their windows, roofs, and streets, as something entirely unknown hovered above them. It remains one of the most compelling and perplexing UFO events in history, a moment when fear, wonder, and uncertainty collided in a city that had never witnessed anything like it before. The lights, the rapid movements, the pulsing glow, they are remembered not just as historical events, but as a profound reminder of humanity's vulnerability beneath the vast, unknowable sky. Chapter 2: The Ghost Rockets over Stockholm, 1946. The summer of 1946 was warm and calm across Stockholm, but a quiet tension lingered in the city's air. The war had ended just a year earlier, and though Sweden had remained neutral, its citizens were no strangers to the rumble of conflict and the unease of a world still rebuilding. People were used to listening for unusual sounds, glancing skyward at the faintest flicker in the clouds, and questioning what might lie beyond the familiar skyline. It was during this restless summer that strange objects began appearing in the sky. At first, they were dismissed as rockets from military tests or the lingering remnants of wartime experiments. But what residents soon saw defied conventional explanation. Hundreds reported cigar-shaped or rocket-like objects darting above the city and across the surrounding countryside. They were not merely lights or flares. They were tangible, moving bodies, seemingly solid, moving at speeds no human-made aircraft could manage. Eyewitnesses described their motion with a mixture of fear and fascination. The objects shot upward suddenly, paused mid-air as though defying gravity, then veered sharply before vanishing into the distance. Their speed was astonishing, too fast for conventional rockets, yet deliberate, as if piloted or guided by intelligence. They made no sound, only leaving a faint vapor trail visible against the early morning or evening sky. Some residents swore they could see fins or pointed noses, while others insisted the objects shimmered like molten metal, reflecting the sun's rays in a way that seemed unnatural. The phenomena sparked both curiosity and alarm. Ordinary citizens, farmers, and laborers alike took to rooftops, fields, and coastal cliffs just to watch the fleeting appearances of these objects. Families would gather at windows at dawn, binoculars in hand, peering into the sky as these strange rockets streaked across the horizon. School children whispered to one another in excitement and fear about the sky missiles, while their teachers tried to maintain calm and order. Sweden's military began taking notice as reports multiplied. Radar operators and pilots were dispatched to observe and track the objects, but the rockets often moved too erratically for instruments to follow consistently. Some were reportedly tracked on radar briefly before disappearing without a trace. Military investigations found no evidence of foreign aircraft or known experimental rockets capable of such maneuvers. The objects seemed to materialize from the empty sky and vanish just as suddenly. Journalists were quick to report on the sightings. Newspapers printed diagrams and sketches based on eyewitness accounts, showing elongated rocket-like forms with fins, some trailing smoke, others glowing like molten metal. Letters poured in from concerned citizens describing encounters and sightings across Stockholm, and even from more remote areas outside the city. Each report added to the growing mystery, yet no official explanation fully satisfied the public. Some speculated Soviet experiments, secret Allied technology, or perhaps even extraterrestrial visitors observing the Earth in the fragile peace after the war. Scientists studied the reports cautiously, trying to find natural explanations. Could it be meteorites burning up in the atmosphere, they asked? Or atmospheric phenomena creating illusions of solid objects in motion? Yet none of these explanations accounted for the precision, speed, and apparent intelligence of the movements. Radar tracking, eyewitness consistency, and even recovered fragments from some sightings suggested that these were not ordinary celestial events. They were something altogether different, something that challenged the limits of contemporary understanding. Nightfall brought even more tension. The calm of evening was often broken by streaks of light darting across the sky, unannounced and untraceable. Citizens would awaken to sudden flashes and wakeful nights spent scanning the heavens. There were accounts of entire neighborhoods gathered on streets and rooftops, eyes glued to the sky, holding their breath as rocket-like silhouettes blazed briefly overhead. Dogs barked, chimneys rattled, and the quiet of post-war Sweden was pierced by the sheer spectacle of these unexplainable objects. Over time, the phenomenon earned a name: the ghost rockets. Their appearances were documented over months, mostly concentrated in Stockholm and nearby regions, but occasionally reported elsewhere across Sweden. Despite military and scientific attention, no definitive source was ever found. They became a symbol of mystery, a reminder that even in the peaceful skies after the war, the unknown still lingered, and the world was far from fully understood. Eyewitnesses recounted details that added layers to the story. Some claimed that the objects seemed to hover momentarily over forests or lakes, as if inspecting the ground below. Others noted sudden directional changes at impossible speeds, or clusters of rockets appearing together, almost as if in formation, moving with coordination that suggested awareness. Some reports even hinted at faint glows or sparks emanating from the objects, adding an eerie, almost supernatural quality to their appearances. Decades later, historians and UFO researchers have revisited the ghost rockets over Stockholm, piecing together eyewitness testimonies, military files, and meteorological records. The mystery endures. Were these experimental post-war rockets misidentified celestial phenomena, or something else entirely? No explanation fully captures the scale, frequency, and behavior of the sightings. What is clear is that the ghost rockets of 1946 remain one of the most compelling early UFO events in modern history. A moment when ordinary citizens stared skyward and glimpsed something entirely beyond comprehension, leaving a lasting imprint on the world's collective imagination. The night skies over Stockholm that summer were no longer ordinary. They were charged with wonder, uncertainty, and the haunting reminder that humanity is never fully in control of the heavens above. Each streak of light, each sudden disappearance, each unexplained flash became part of a story passed down through generations, an invitation to imagine, to question, and to dream of what might be watching from far above. Chapter 3. The Washington, D.C. UFO Flap 1952. The summer of 1952 brought an unusual tension to the skies above the nation's capital. Washington, D.C., with its historic buildings, government offices, and monuments, had always been a city of power, politics, and ceremony, but for several nights in July, it became the epicenter of a mystery that no one could explain. It began quietly enough, with a few scattered reports of strange lights moving in formation across the sky. Then the sightings multiplied, and soon the city, the press, and the military were all focused on the heavens. Eyewitnesses described glowing objects, often circular or disc-shaped, moving silently above the Capitol. Some of the lights hovered for minutes, defying what anyone knew about conventional aircraft. Others darted across the sky at incredible speeds, making sudden stops, sharp turns, and ascents that seemed impossible for even the most advanced human planes of the era. People on the streets looked up in astonishment. Police officers reported seeing formations of lights over the White House and the Capitol building, their attention drawn to the ethereal and unexplainable movements high above. The first major wave of sightings occurred on the evening of July 19th. Radar operators at Washington National Airport and Andrews Air Force Base detected multiple objects at varying altitudes, some moving at speeds that contradicted known aerodynamics. Pilots were scrambled to investigate, and they reported seeing bright, glowing objects, sometimes appearing as if they were reflecting sunlight even after dusk. These objects were silent, smooth, and metallic in appearance according to some accounts, moving with precision that suggested purpose and intelligence. As the nights continued, reports came pouring in from civilians, journalists, and government personnel alike. Traffic slowed on city streets as drivers stopped to stare upwards. Families opened windows to watch the mysterious displays, and even military personnel were left puzzled. The phenomena seemed organized, almost deliberate, as if the lights were performing a choreographed display for an audience on the ground. Observers noted that the lights did not follow conventional flight paths, nor did they obey the constraints of gravity in any obvious way. The press picked up the story quickly. Newspapers ran headlines describing flying discs over Washington and mystery objects puzzle radar operators. Photographs were scarce, as cameras at the time were not fast enough to capture the fleeting objects. But sketches and eyewitness descriptions flooded the media. Each report added new details. Some claimed to see red and green lights at the edges of the discs, while others insisted the objects emitted a steady bluish glow. One observer claimed a formation of 5 objects hovered in perfect alignment over the Pentagon before vanishing within moments. The government could not ignore the events. The sightings triggered investigations from the Air Force, the FBI, and other agencies. Project Blue Book, the Air Force's official UFO investigation program, was heavily involved. Military officials reviewed radar data, interviewed witnesses, and attempted to correlate sightings with known aircraft movements. Yet no logical explanation could account for the precise maneuvers, the sudden appearances and disappearances, or the sheer number of independent witnesses reporting the same phenomena. Panic and awe spread among the population. Air raid sirens were briefly tested in some areas due to initial concerns, though it was soon clear these were not conventional threats. Children whispered about flying saucers at school, and adults debated over breakfast tables whether the objects were secret military craft, natural phenomena, or something beyond Earth entirely. Night after night, the skies continued to provide the spectacle, leaving city dwellers both enchanted and uneasy. Some accounts described the objects as completely silent, without the rumble of engines or propellers. Others claimed subtle humming or vibration, though this was inconsistent. Radar tracking confirmed multiple objects simultaneously, some appearing to accelerate instantly, others holding position for extended periods. Pilots sent to intercept reported that their instruments sometimes failed near the objects, compasses spinning and radios cutting out as if influenced by an unknown force. Over the weeks, the phenomenon became known as the Washington, D.C. UFO flap of 1952. The sightings were concentrated over the Capitol, yet reports trickled in from nearby states, suggesting that these objects were not merely passing through but perhaps deliberately focusing on the area. Investigations revealed no evidence of hoaxes, misidentified conventional aircraft, or astronomical explanations such as meteors or planets. The consistency of eyewitness accounts, combined with radar confirmation, made this one of the most compelling UFO events of the era. Even decades later, historians and researchers look back at those nights in July with fascination. The Washington, D.C. UFO flap remains a defining moment in modern UFO history, a time when a powerful city and its government found themselves confronted with an unknown that could not be explained. It was a reminder that even over the most monitored and controlled skies, mysteries could appear, fleeting yet unforgettable, challenging our understanding of the world and leaving an indelible mark on the collective imagination. The night skies above Washington, D.C. in 1952 were never ordinary. Each glowing disk, each hovering light, each sudden dart across the sky was a question without an answer, a puzzle for witnesses and investigators alike. For the citizens, military personnel, and leaders who watched in awe and apprehension, those nights remain a testament to the unknown, an enduring reminder that the universe is vast, mysterious, and far more complex than we often imagine. Chapter 4. The Hudson Valley Sightings, 1980 to 1986. From the rolling hills of New York's Hudson Valley to the quiet streets of small towns nestled along the river, the skies became a theater of wonder and uncertainty in the early 1980s. Over the course of several years, beginning in 1980 and continuing through 1986, thousands of residents reported seeing massive, silent craft glide through the night sky. These were not fleeting streaks of light, nor were they isolated incidents. The Hudson Valley was transformed into the epicenter of one of the most enduring and perplexing series of UFO sightings in modern history. Eyewitnesses described the objects as enormous black triangles, sometimes glowing faintly at their edges with red, white, or orange lights. The lights were often arranged in a geometric pattern, perfectly aligned at the corners of the triangular craft. Observers noted that these objects moved slowly and deliberately, defying conventional aeronautical expectations. They hovered silently for minutes, sometimes appearing above residential areas, then drifting effortlessly along ridges, rivers, and forests, before vanishing into the night. The first widely reported sighting occurred on a clear evening in the summer of 1980. Residents of a small town along the Hudson River reported a gigantic, dark triangular craft with lights at each corner. The object glided silently over the river, its massive silhouette visible against the moonlit sky. Witnesses were paralyzed with a mix of awe and fear, unable to comprehend the size, scale, and silent precision of what they were observing. Calls were made to local authorities, though officers could find nothing upon investigation. Yet the consistency of multiple eyewitness reports made it impossible to dismiss as imagination. Over the next few years, sightings became more frequent and widespread. Families, pilots, farmers, and even police officers reported the same phenomena. The objects were consistently described as triangular, dark, and silent, often appearing at low altitudes, sometimes close enough that witnesses could feel a subtle vibration or see a faint reflection of moonlight glinting off the craft's surface. Some reported sudden changes in movement, stopping abruptly, shifting direction at impossible angles, or accelerating faster than any known aircraft. These maneuvers suggested a level of control and intelligence far beyond conventional aviation. Journalists and UFO investigators soon arrived in the Hudson Valley, documenting interviews, collecting sketches, and examining physical traces left behind. Some witnesses claimed to see the lights dim and brighten rhythmically, almost as if the craft were communicating or scanning the area below. Others noted the eerie silence, even in areas where the craft hovered just above houses or roads. Unlike conventional aircraft, these objects made no sound, emitted no exhaust, and left no contrails. Their presence was undeniable, yet entirely unexplainable. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Hudson Valley sightings was the persistence of the phenomenon. Over 6 years, reports poured in with remarkable consistency. Different towns reported similar experiences, from hovering lights to full triangular silhouettes. Radar reports occasionally corroborated the sightings, showing unidentified objects with unusual flight patterns. Yet attempts to intercept or approach these objects proved futile. Pilots flying in the region often reported instruments behaving erratically near the craft, compasses spinning, and radios cutting out, adding another layer of mystery to the encounters. Local communities reacted with a mixture of curiosity and unease. Children whispered stories of flying triangles at school. Neighbors exchanged sketches and notes, and newspapers ran feature articles chronicling the nightly appearances. Scientists and skeptics offered explanations ranging from experimental military aircraft to natural atmospheric phenomena, but none could adequately account for the scale, geometry, and silent movement reported by so many. The sightings also attracted national attention. Television networks interviewed witnesses, journalists published detailed accounts, and UFO researchers compiled extensive case files. The Hudson Valley became a pilgrimage site for enthusiasts hoping to glimpse the mysterious craft. Even skeptics admitted that something extraordinary was occurring. The repeated nature of the sightings, the sheer number of credible witnesses, and the consistency of their descriptions made this series of encounters one of the most remarkable in UFO history. As the years went on, reports gradually decreased, yet the legacy of the Hudson Valley sightings persisted. Researchers continued to study eyewitness accounts, radar data, and photographs taken during the phenomenon. The mystery remains unsolved, a testament to the enduring enigma of these silent, triangular craft. The Hudson Valley UFOs challenged conventional understanding, leaving a lasting impression on those who looked up at the night sky and saw the impossible glide above them. For those who witnessed the events firsthand, the skies of the Hudson Valley between 1980 and 1986 were never ordinary. Every glowing light, every massive triangle, every silent glide across the moonlit horizon was a reminder that the universe contains mysteries that defy explanation, that reality can sometimes intersect with the extraordinary, and that in the quiet of the night, unseen forces may be watching, moving, and leaving behind questions that may never be fully answered. Chapter 5. The Mexico City Eclipse, UFOs 1991. On the morning of July 1st, 1991, Mexico City prepared for a rare astronomical event. A total solar eclipse would sweep across the capital, and thousands of residents gathered on rooftops, in parks, and along busy streets to witness the moon briefly blot out the Sunday. Binoculars, cameras, and telescopes were set up, children's eyes wide with wonder, and a collective hush fell over the city as the sky began to darken. What no one expected was that the skies above would hold more than the natural spectacle of the eclipse. As the moon slid in front of the sun, multiple bright objects appeared in the sky, catching the attention of onlookers immediately. At first, they were dismissed as reflections or camera anomalies, but soon the truth became undeniable. People across the city reported seeing bright, metallic objects moving against the backdrop of the eclipsed sun, hovering, darting, and even performing synchronized maneuvers. These were no ordinary birds or planes. The shapes were geometric, precise, and glowing with an intensity that outshone the dimmed sunlight. Eyewitness accounts flooded local news stations. Families described formations of luminous discs, moving with an intelligence that seemed deliberate and coordinated. Some of the objects appeared to form triangular patterns, while others moved in circular arrays, shifting as if communicating silently with one another. Residents took photographs and videos, capturing moments that would later become iconic in UFO research. The images revealed glints of metal reflecting the eerie eclipse light, while shadows suggested structures far larger than what any commercial or military aircraft could achieve. The phenomenon lasted for several minutes, long enough for thousands of residents to witness it firsthand. People reported a mixture of awe and fear as the glowing objects performed impossible maneuvers, hovering in place, accelerating at unnatural speeds, and disappearing into thin air without sound or exhaust. Pilots in the city's airspace confirmed that no known aircraft were in the area, and radar operators noted unexplained blips appearing and vanishing intermittently during the event. These signals were fleeting yet consistent, further validating the reality of the sightings. What made the Mexico City eclipse sightings particularly compelling was the sheer number of witnesses and the precision of the event's timing. The total eclipse provided perfect lighting conditions for the UFOs to be observed, silhouetted against the rare darkness. Scientists and astronomers studying the eclipse were forced to acknowledge the unexpected phenomenon, though official statements remained cautious, emphasizing the need for verification and suggesting that lens flares or atmospheric anomalies could be responsible. Yet, the testimonies of thousands could not be easily dismissed. Among the crowd were photographers, amateur astronomers, and curious citizens who captured every possible angle of the event. Many reported experiencing a strange sense of presence, an awareness that these objects were not merely passing through but observing, interacting with, or perhaps even measuring the response of those on the ground. Children described the lights as dancing or playing, while adults spoke of a feeling of weightless calm descending over the city. The combination of awe-inspiring beauty and the unknowable nature of the objects created an indelible impression, one that has endured in Mexico City's cultural memory. Investigations by UFO researchers in the weeks following the eclipse attempted to collect data, correlate eyewitness reports, and analyze the photographs. Patterns emerged suggesting coordinated flight paths and deliberate behavior that defied explanation. Some suggested advanced experimental aircraft from secret government programs, but these hypotheses failed to account for the precise maneuvers, silent operation, and widespread simultaneous observation. The phenomenon seemed to belong to no known category of terrestrial technology. The Mexico City eclipse UFOs became a landmark case in the history of aerial phenomena. They were documented in newspapers, televised reports, and research papers, standing as one of the most compelling instances of multiple simultaneous sightings. The event challenged the understanding of what was possible in the skies above one of the largest cities in the world and left an enduring question. Were these objects of earthly origin, or were they visitors from somewhere far beyond the boundaries of human experience? Even decades later, residents of Mexico City recount the day with vivid detail. The memory of the glowing discs, hovering silently against the partially eclipsed sun, remains etched in their minds. The event served as a powerful reminder that the sky can hold mysteries that defy conventional explanation, and that at any moment, the ordinary can give way to the extraordinary. The Mexico City eclipse UFOs of 1991 stand as a testament to the unknown, a moment when humanity glimpsed something entirely outside our understanding, leaving behind stories, images, and unanswered questions that continue to fascinate and inspire those who look to the sky with wonder. Chapter 6. The Phoenix Lights, 1997. On the night of March 13, 1997, the skies over Phoenix, Arizona, held a stillness that seemed almost sacred. Residents had gone about their evening routines, families finishing dinners, children playing outside under the fading glow of the desert sunset, unaware that the night would soon deliver one of the most extraordinary aerial phenomena in modern history. As darkness fell, a strange and silent formation began to appear in the sky, stretching over hundreds of miles. The first glimpses were subtle, faint pinpoints of light glimmering against the deepening indigo of the evening. Eyewitnesses quickly realized these were no ordinary aircraft. The lights moved slowly, deliberately and silently. Unlike commercial jets, there were no blinking navigation lights, no engine hum, no contrails. Instead, the formation seemed to glide with uncanny precision, almost as if the city itself had become a stage for an event beyond human planning. Residents from multiple neighborhoods began to gather, pointing toward the sky, their eyes wide with curiosity and fear. Some ran inside for binoculars and cameras, while others simply stared, unable to comprehend what they were witnessing. As more people observed, the sheer scale of the phenomenon became apparent. The lights were arranged in a massive V-shaped pattern, moving slowly from the northwest to the southeast, spanning dozens of miles across the sky. The front edge of the formation held the brightest lights, glowing orange and amber, casting a subtle illumination that highlighted the desert below. Witnesses reported seeing a dark, massive structure connecting the lights, a triangular silhouette so large it seemed to blot out portions of the stars behind it. Many described the object as impossibly silent, yet impossibly large, dwarfing any aircraft known to exist at the time. Local news stations began receiving phone calls from residents across the metropolitan area. Reports poured in from neighborhoods, highways, and even nearby towns. Drivers stopped on the roads, pointing and gesturing as the formation passed overhead. People in office buildings abandoned work, stepping onto rooftops to get a clearer view. The atmosphere was electric, filled with a mixture of wonder, fear, and disbelief. Some people were convinced it was a military exercise. Others swore they were witnessing extraterrestrial visitors. The lights hovered at times, appearing almost to pause in the sky, then continued their slow progression across Phoenix. Observers described a feeling of immense calm as they watched, a strange weightlessness in the air that seemed to accompany the silent passage of the enormous formation. Children pointed excitedly, describing the lights as giant fireflies, while adults speculated on government conspiracies and alien technology. Military helicopters and F-16s were later reported to have been scrambled, but no engagement or interception occurred, and the official explanations remained vague, citing training exercises that could not fully account for the scale, shape, and slow, deliberate movement of the formation. Photographs and videos captured the glowing orbs and their immense dark framework. The footage revealed lights at each point of the V-shape, often flickering or pulsing slightly, as if signaling or communicating. Witnesses described seeing a faint metallic sheen in the darkness connecting the lights, giving the impression of a craft unlike any man-made technology. The phenomenon lasted for hours, beginning in the early evening and fading into the night sky, leaving behind a mixture of amazement, fear, and unanswered questions. The Phoenix Lights sparked nationwide and even global attention. Journalists, UFO researchers, and scientists flocked to Phoenix to collect testimonies, photographs, and videos. The event became one of the most well-documented mass sightings in modern history, with tens of thousands of witnesses across multiple states. Researchers noted the precision and consistency of the reports. Lights in a V-shaped formation, massive in scale, moving silently and with apparent intelligence. The event could not be explained away by conventional aircraft, weather balloons, or flares alone. Over the years, the Phoenix Lights became legendary. Veterans of the sighting recounted it repeatedly, each time noting small details. The slight flicker of the lights, the weightless calm over the city, the unnatural silence, and the overwhelming scale of the object. Military personnel who later spoke off the record suggested classified aircraft tests, yet the descriptions of the craft's size, formation, and movement defied any known experimental planes. For many residents, the memory remained vivid, a night when the sky itself seemed to hold a secret, a glimpse of something larger than life, intelligent and undeniably otherworldly. The Phoenix Lights of 1997 challenged the limits of imagination, reminding humanity that the world above our cities can harbor mysteries that are far beyond conventional understanding. Decades later, the event continues to inspire fascination, debate, and wonder. Those who witnessed it speak not of fear alone, but of awe, a moment when ordinary life was interrupted by the extraordinary, when the silence of the desert night was filled by the impossible presence of massive, silent lights gliding across the sky. Chapter 7. The Chicago O'Hare UFO 2006. It was an overcast November afternoon in 2006, when the skies above Chicago became the stage for an event that would puzzle witnesses, reporters, and aviation professionals alike. At O'Hare International Airport, one of the busiest airports in the world, pilots were preparing for takeoffs and landings. Passengers were hustling through terminals, and the typical hum of air traffic filled the air. But then, something unusual caught the attention of both airport staff and airline personnel. A dark, metallic disc-shaped object hovering silently above the tarmac. At first, it appeared small and distant, barely distinguishable against the thick blanket of clouds. But as seconds passed, it became clear to everyone looking that this was no ordinary aircraft, no blimp, and certainly no helicopter. The disc hovered motionless, defying the conventional rules of flight. Pilots in nearby planes reported the object to air traffic controllers, who initially assumed it might be a weather balloon or some sort of experimental aircraft. Yet the disc did not drift or sway like a balloon, and it did not emit the hum of engines typical of even the quietest aircraft. Its silence was uncanny, a stillness in the sky that made the bustling airport below feel momentarily frozen. Witnesses described the object as perfectly circular, metallic, and smooth, reflecting a dull, silvery sheen from the diffused sunlight. Unlike conventional aircraft, it had no visible wings, no tail, no landing gear, nothing that could suggest conventional aviation design. Airport employees grabbed cameras and phones, some capturing video footage as the disc hovered in place. The object's movements were deliberate but almost imperceptible, as if it were weighing the activity below, observing the human world from a vantage point high above the tarmac. As attention grew, the disc suddenly shot upward through the cloud layer at an impossible speed, leaving a gaping circular hole in the overcast sky. Observers on the ground described it as a sudden and instantaneous movement, defying every law of physics known to commercial and military aviation. It was gone in the blink of an eye, leaving behind only a stunned silence and the open sky, the clouds closing slowly behind it as if nothing had occurred. Passengers and airport staff were left in awe, some whispering about extraterrestrial visitors, others speculating about secret military aircraft. The suddenness of the event, combined with the impossibility of its movement, created an atmosphere of disbelief and wonder. News of the sighting spread rapidly, first through local media and then across the country. Reporters interviewed airline personnel, airport employees, and pilots, documenting remarkably consistent descriptions: a metallic disc, hovering silently, sudden upward acceleration, and a circular void in the clouds. Aviation experts weighed in, attempting to explain the event through conventional means, citing weather anomalies, misidentified planes, or even pilot optical illusions. However, none of these explanations fully accounted for the object's characteristics, particularly the instantaneous movement through clouds and its total silence. The incident became a point of heated discussion among UFO researchers, skeptics, and enthusiasts alike. For skeptics, the sighting highlighted the human tendency to misinterpret visual cues during unusual weather conditions. For researchers, it was another compelling case in a long history of sightings over major urban centers, reinforcing the idea that unidentified aerial phenomena are not limited to rural or isolated areas. Air traffic logs, radar reports, and eyewitness testimonies created a detailed record, yet official explanations remained vague. The FAA, while acknowledging pilot reports, refrained from offering any definitive account, leaving the story open to interpretation. Eyewitnesses recalled the emotional impact of the sighting. Some described a sense of eerie calm as the disk hovered, a moment where normal life paused and the world felt simultaneously small and vast. Children in observation areas pointed skyward, their voices filled with excitement and curiosity. Airline crew members recounted the experience with a mixture of professionalism and awe, noting that even seasoned pilots were left questioning what they had seen. Video footage and photographs circulated, capturing the metallic disk against the gray sky, evidence that further fueled public fascination. Over the years, the Chicago O'Hare UFO sighting became a landmark case in modern UFO history. It demonstrated that unidentified aerial phenomena could appear over major transportation hubs, challenging assumptions about the nature of UFO sightings and the environments in which they occur. Analysts studying the incident noted the precision and consistency of the witnesses' reports, emphasizing the unusual combination of a silent, hovering craft and sudden, impossibly fast movement. The event remains one of the most credible and well-documented urban UFO encounters in history, cited frequently in studies, documentaries, and discussions about extraterrestrial possibilities. For those who observed the disk that November afternoon, the memory lingers. The object, metallic and silent, hovering over one of the busiest airports in the world before disappearing through the clouds, left an indelible impression. It was a reminder that even in our most developed and closely monitored cities, the skies may hold secrets beyond human understanding, silent visitors that challenge our perception of reality, and moments of wonder that can transform an ordinary day into something extraordinary. Chapter 8. The Stephenville, Texas UFOs, 2008. In early January of 2008, the quiet town of Stephenville, Texas, became the stage for an event that would ignite nationwide attention and perplex both civilians and aviation authorities. Residents, many of whom were accustomed to the wide-open skies of North Texas and the occasional passing airplane, reported something extraordinary, massive, silent craft moving slowly over the town at low altitudes. The sheer size of these objects, described as larger than a football field, immediately set them apart from any known aircraft or conventional explanation. It began with local farmers and ranchers looking up from their fields, noticing unusual lights that hovered or moved with a deliberate slowness. At first, many assumed they were commercial aircraft, seen at an unusual angle, perhaps distorted by the winter sky. But the movement was wrong, too precise, too deliberate, unlike any plane, helicopter, or blimp. The lights formed the shape of a massive black triangle, a silent shadow cutting across the sky, with bright white or amber lights at each corner. Those who tried to follow the craft with binoculars were struck by its silent dominance, a stillness that contrasted sharply with the usual sounds of rural life. The reports quickly multiplied as more residents observed the phenomenon. Drivers on country roads stopped their vehicles, stepping out to witness the dark silhouettes above. School children pressed their faces to windows, eyes wide, whispering to each other about what they were seeing. Ranch hands put down their work tools. Farmers abandoned their tractors for a moment, all captivated by the impossibly large, triangular formation gliding silently across the night sky. One witness later described a sensation of awe mixed with a subtle unease, as though the craft were aware of being watched, yet completely indifferent to human curiosity. Radar operators and FAA officials took notice when multiple unidentified objects were tracked over the area. The data showed objects moving at incredible speeds at times, then slowing to near hovering positions, something conventional aircraft cannot achieve. Local law enforcement was called in to investigate, with officers reporting multiple sightings themselves. One deputy described the craft as so dark it absorbed the sky around it, a floating void outlined only by its faint corner lights. Many witnesses reported that the lights changed intensity without pattern, sometimes dimming to near invisibility, then brightening again, as if communicating in a silent code across the Texas night. The phenomenon did not remain confined to a single night. Over several hours, sightings continued, with some observers reporting as many as 5 different triangular craft simultaneously in the sky. They appeared and disappeared with baffling precision, vanishing from one horizon only to reappear over another. News outlets began covering the story, interviewing locals who described an overwhelming sense of disbelief and fascination. Amateur photographers and videographers captured images, though the enormous size and darkness of the craft made detailed visuals challenging. Shadows against the night sky, illuminated only by sporadic lights, created a surreal, almost otherworldly tableau. Aviation experts weighed in, suggesting explanations ranging from misidentified military aircraft to optical illusions caused by atmospheric conditions. Yet the descriptions defied conventional physics. Witnesses consistently noted the absence of engine noise, no contrails, and movements that no known aircraft could match. Some pilots familiar with the area's air traffic patterns confirmed that no commercial or private flights were scheduled, and military authorities initially offered little explanation. The silence and the apparent intelligence behind the maneuvers only heightened speculation. The impact on Stephenville itself was profound. Residents spoke of a shared experience, a collective awe at seeing something so large, so unlike anything known, silently gliding above their town. Conversations in diners, at schools, and in homes were dominated by what had been seen that night. The town, normally unremarkable, had become a center of curiosity and wonder, a place where ordinary life intersected with the extraordinary. Scientists and UFO researchers traveled to the area, interviewing witnesses, analyzing radar data, and trying to piece together the movements and capabilities of the craft. Despite extensive investigation, no definitive explanation was ever reached. Over time, the Stephenville sightings became a landmark case in the study of black triangle UFOs. It highlighted that unidentified aerial phenomena could occur over populated areas, that witnesses were credible and consistent in their descriptions, and that the behavior of such craft often defied conventional understanding. Unlike fleeting lights in rural areas, these massive triangles had been observed over towns, tracked on radar, and photographed by multiple sources. They remained visible long enough to allow detailed observation and left behind a sense of mystery that still resonates in UFO literature. To this day, the memory of that night in 2008 lingers in Stephenville. People recall the strange silence, the enormous dark shapes, and the feeling of standing beneath something utterly beyond human construction. Some describe it as an awe-inspiring reminder that the skies above our everyday world may hold secrets we are only beginning to glimpse. The Stephenville, Texas UFOs remain a vivid, enigmatic chapter in the history of urban and rural sightings, a story that blends the ordinary with the extraordinary, and a night when the heavens themselves seem to pause and watch the people below. Chapter 9. The Moscow Pyramid UFO, 2009. In the early months of 2009, residents and visitors in Moscow, Russia, experienced a spectacle that would capture worldwide attention. The city, normally bustling with the routines of daily life, was suddenly the stage for an unusual aerial phenomenon, a massive pyramid-shaped object hovering silently over the historic heart of the capital. What made this sighting extraordinary was not only its location, but the size, shape, and behavior of the craft. Unlike distant lights or fleeting flashes, this object was clearly visible to thousands, moving slowly above Red Square and the surrounding cityscape, casting a shadow across buildings, streets, and public squares. Eyewitnesses reported seeing a dark, triangular pyramid suspended in the sky, seemingly defying gravity. Its edges were sharply defined, yet there was a strange, almost liquid quality to the surface, as if it absorbed the ambient light around it. People on the streets stopped in their tracks, staring upward, many reaching for their cameras and phones to record the event. News reports began circulating almost immediately, with journalists scrambling to document the unprecedented sight. Even aerial footage captured from nearby news helicopters revealed the pyramid's massive presence, its slow rotation, and the faint, eerie glow of lights along its corners. Residents described a profound sense of awe and unease. Some felt a strange vibration in the air, almost imperceptible, like a subtle hum that seemed to resonate through buildings and streets. Others noted that birds and urban wildlife acted strangely, scattering as though sensing something unusual in the atmosphere. People watching from rooftops and windows described the pyramid as if it had an intelligence of its own, moving deliberately, pausing at times, then shifting position with impossible precision. Its silent nature defied explanation, as there was no sound of engines, turbines, or any mechanical noise that could account for its flight. Radar operators and air traffic control centers quickly noted the anomaly. Civil aviation controllers confirmed that no conventional aircraft, private jets, or military craft were present in the area during the sighting. Military authorities initially declined to comment, but speculation grew rapidly across news outlets and social media platforms. Amateur astronomers and UFO researchers began to analyze photographs and videos, noting the consistency in angles, size, and lighting across multiple sources. The pyramid's massive scale was estimated at hundreds of meters across, far larger than any known man-made aircraft. The Moscow Pyramid UFO did not merely appear as a static object in the sky. Witnesses described subtle shifts in position, rotations, and movements that suggested an awareness of observers below. Lights along the corners of the pyramid flickered intermittently, sometimes dimming entirely, then flaring bright again. Street lights, vehicle headlights, and building lights seemed to respond strangely to the presence of the craft, creating eerie shadows and highlighting its geometry against the night sky. Pedestrians reported a strange chill, a sensation that the city itself had entered a temporary otherworldly state where the normal rules of physics and perception felt suspended. International attention followed quickly. Media outlets around the globe aired footage, often overlaying expert commentary attempting to explain the sighting. Theories ranged from advanced secret military aircraft to mass hallucinations, but the sheer number of independent witnesses, combined with photographic and radar evidence, made simple explanations difficult to accept. Russian officials remained largely silent, providing only vague reassurances that public safety was not threatened. Meanwhile, UFO researchers described the sighting as one of the most compelling urban encounters of a triangular or pyramid-shaped craft ever documented. Eyewitness accounts consistently emphasized the sense of scale and the impossibility of the object being conventional. People noted that it seemed to hover in place for long periods, then accelerate without the sound or turbulence associated with any known aircraft. Photographs revealed faint reflections on the pyramid's surface, suggesting a metallic or composite material, yet no seams, rivets, or windows were visible. Some observers reported a faint, low-frequency hum, barely audible but physically noticeable, which faded as the craft moved. This contributed to the perception that the pyramid was not only vast but capable of emitting energy or signals in ways that humans could feel, even without seeing. Over the next several hours, the pyramid remained visible intermittently, appearing in multiple locations above the city, then vanishing as suddenly as it had appeared. Local authorities attempted crowd control, as curious onlookers gathered in public squares, trying to capture images or simply witness the phenomenon. Social media posts went viral within minutes, with eyewitnesses uploading videos and descriptions, sparking global discussion. Analysts comparing the footage noted the object's consistency and suggested that it could not have been a drone or any conventional flying object. Its scale alone, combined with its silent movement and geometric perfection, defied explanation. In the months following, the Moscow Pyramid UFO became a defining case in the study of urban triangular craft sightings. It reinforced the pattern that massive, silent, triangular or pyramid-shaped UFOs could appear not just in remote areas but directly over major cities, observable by thousands, and captured on multiple media formats. Researchers continue to study the event, citing it as one of the most compelling pieces of evidence in the ongoing investigation of unidentified aerial phenomena. Witnesses describe it as a moment that changed their perception of the skies forever, a reminder that, even above the heart of one of the world's most modern and populated cities, there remain mysteries that defy understanding, where silence, geometry, and movement converge into a sight both awe-inspiring and profoundly unsettling. The Moscow Pyramid UFO of 2009 remains an enduring enigma, a phenomenon that challenged not only the technical understanding of flight, but the very assumptions about what might exist above our cities, waiting silently for the world below to look up. Chapter 10: The New York City UFO Orbs, 2010. In the spring of 2010, the skies above Manhattan, New York City, became the stage for one of the most widely reported and documented UFO events in recent history. Residents, tourists, and workers in the bustling city found themselves staring upward at glowing spheres that hovered and drifted across the skyline. Unlike fleeting flashes or distant lights that often appear in urban areas, these orbs moved with deliberate precision, silently navigating the airspace above skyscrapers, bridges, and public squares. What made the phenomenon so remarkable was the sheer number of witnesses and the consistency of their accounts. Thousands of people described glowing spheres ranging in size, from small streetlights to massive objects that seemed almost impossibly large as they floated above the city. Eyewitnesses noted that the orbs emitted a soft, pulsating light, shifting in color from warm amber to pale white, and sometimes appearing almost translucent. They moved silently, defying the normal rules of aerodynamics, hovering in place for minutes, then suddenly accelerating, weaving between buildings, and vanishing from sight without a trace. The movement was intelligent, almost purposeful, as if the orbs were observing the city and the people below. People on the streets paused their daily routines, phones and cameras raised to capture the spectacle. Social media feeds quickly filled with photographs and videos, each image corroborating the others, showing multiple orbs moving in coordinated patterns over the dense urban landscape. Air traffic control centers and radar operators noted anomalies that corresponded with the sightings. Conventional aircraft traffic in the area did not match the positions or movements of the objects. Pilots in the vicinity reported seeing spheres hovering silently at altitudes ranging from a few hundred feet to thousands of feet above the city. Several commercial flights diverted slightly to avoid what pilots described as unidentified luminous objects moving unpredictably. Even military and police personnel confirmed sightings, though official statements remained cautious, noting only that unusual lights had been observed and were under investigation. The behavior of the orbs was described as both mesmerizing and unnerving. Witnesses reported patterns in their movement, formations that suggested a level of coordination, as if the spheres were in communication with one another. Some hovered in clusters, forming temporary geometric arrangements, while others moved independently, exploring streets, rivers, and open spaces below. Streetlights and reflective surfaces in the city created additional effects, making the orbs appear larger or multiply reflected. But careful analysis of video footage and photographs revealed that the phenomena were physical objects rather than optical illusions. Many observers described an uncanny sense of presence, a feeling that the orbs were aware of their observation. People reported sensations of mild pressure, a subtle vibration in the air, and an inexplicable quiet that seemed to accompany the objects. Even in the middle of the noisy city, pets and urban wildlife reacted strangely. Birds scattered from their usual roosts, and dogs appeared uneasy as the orbs passed overhead. The unusual behavior of the animals added another layer of intrigue to the sighting, suggesting that the orbs emitted energy or signals that were perceptible beyond visual observation. The media quickly picked up the story, with major news networks covering the sightings live. Reporters interviewed eyewitnesses from rooftops and open plazas, capturing footage of the orbs against iconic landmarks such as the Empire State Building, the Brooklyn Bridge, and Times Square. Analysts debated the origin of the phenomenon. Some suggested drones or experimental aircraft, but the size, scale, and silent movement made conventional explanations difficult to sustain. Others considered atmospheric phenomena or reflections, but the consistency of witness reports, combined with radar data and photographic evidence, pointed to something far more unusual. Amateur astronomers and UFO researchers flocked to New York to document the events. They noted that the orbs appeared to respond to observation, changing patterns when cameras were pointed at them, and pausing in their movement when approached by crowds. Videos captured slow spirals, hovering formations, and sudden bursts of speed that exceeded the capabilities of known aircraft. Scientists reviewing the footage remarked on the impossibility of such precise, silent, and coordinated movement at low altitudes in a dense urban environment. Over the course of several nights, the New York City UFO orbs continued to appear intermittently. They were first spotted at dusk, lingering in the twilight, then reappearing after dark, casting a soft glow across streets and rivers. Each appearance drew crowds to observation points and rooftops, as people from all walks of life witnessed the same extraordinary phenomena. Despite the excitement and the viral spread of images and videos online, no definitive explanation emerged. Authorities remained cautious, acknowledging the sightings but refusing to speculate publicly on their origin. The psychological impact on the witnesses was profound. Many reported feeling awe, fear, and curiosity simultaneously. Conversations about the sightings dominated social spaces, news outlets, and online forums. Scientists and skeptics debated the possibilities, from secret government projects to extraterrestrial technology, yet no conclusive evidence ever surfaced to fully explain the events. The city itself seemed to hold its breath whenever the orbs appeared, a rare pause in the constant rhythm of urban life, where millions of people could look up and see something entirely unexplainable. In the years following the 2010 sightings, the New York City UFO orbs became a defining case in modern urban UFO encounters. The documentation, photographs, videos, and thousands of eyewitness accounts provided researchers with one of the most detailed datasets ever collected on triangular and spherical UFO phenomena over a major city. The event reinforced the pattern that these mysterious objects could appear not only in remote areas but directly above densely populated urban centers, silently challenging our understanding of physics, flight, and perception. The New York City UFO orbs 2010 remain an enduring enigma, a spectacle that combined awe-inspiring beauty with profound mystery. They are a reminder that even above one of the most modern and densely populated cities on Earth, there are events that defy explanation, leaving witnesses to wonder about intelligence, technology, and life beyond our world, and what might be silently observing the planet below. Chapter 11, The Dome of the Rock, UFO in Jerusalem, 2011. In the early evening of 2011, the skies above Jerusalem became the scene of an event that would captivate witnesses around the world. The Dome of the Rock, perched majestically on the Temple Mount, glowed in the soft golden light of the setting Sunday. Suddenly, a strange object appeared in the sky, hovering silently above the historic site. Witnesses describe it as a glowing orb, radiating a steady, ethereal light that bathed the surrounding buildings in an otherworldly shimmer. Unlike conventional aircraft, the object moved without sound, without blinking lights, and with an intelligence that seemed almost deliberate in its motion. People gathered in the streets, in courtyards, and on rooftops, all drawn to the unusual sight. Residents, tourists, and religious pilgrims alike paused, phones and cameras raised, capturing footage of the orb as it hovered over the dome. Witnesses reported that the object would shift gently, almost imperceptibly, then suddenly dart across the sky before returning to its original position. Children pointed upward in amazement, and adults whispered theories, ranging from drones to experimental military craft. But the object defied all conventional explanation. Its movements were too smooth, too precise, and too silent to be of human origin. Local news crews arrived on the scene, broadcasting live images to national and international audiences. Footage revealed a luminous, nearly spherical craft, pulsating with a light that varied in intensity. Sometimes it glowed like a lantern, and other times it appeared almost transparent, as if the material itself were bending the light around it. Reports indicated that the orb seemed aware of being observed, responding subtly to the cameras and the movement of people below. When crowds grew restless or attempted to follow it, the orb would retreat slightly, only to return moments later, almost teasing its observers. The phenomenon was not limited to visual observation. Many witnesses reported hearing a subtle hum or vibration, not loud but perceptible, a sound that seemed to resonate with the air itself. Others spoke of a peculiar sense of calm, even awe, a feeling that something beyond normal comprehension was present. Religious and historical significance of the location only amplified the intensity of the experience, with people contemplating the intersection of human history, sacred sites, and the possibility of extraterrestrial intelligence observing from above. Astronomers and UFO researchers quickly turned their attention to the Dome of the Rock sighting. Analysis of photographs and video suggested the orb was not a projection, balloon, drone, or atmospheric anomaly. Its flight patterns were inconsistent with any known aircraft. Radar operators in the vicinity confirmed unusual blips corresponding with the visual sightings, moving in ways that defied conventional aerodynamics. The orb remained at a steady altitude for extended periods, sometimes disappearing from view entirely, only to reappear at a different location with equal precision. Eyewitness accounts provided incredible detail. One observer described the orb splitting into two smaller spheres for a few moments, then merging back into a single larger object. Another noted patterns of faint, concentric circles of light surrounding the main orb, as if it were generating a subtle energy field that interacted with the atmosphere. Yet another reported a sensation of weightlessness, a fleeting moment of disorientation when the object hovered directly overhead. These personal experiences added layers of mystery, hinting at effects beyond the purely visual. The orb's presence sparked immediate discussions on social media and in international news. Videos went viral within hours, drawing millions of viewers worldwide who debated its origin. Was it a secret government experiment, a rare atmospheric phenomenon, or proof of intelligent extraterrestrial life? Academics, engineers, and skeptics analyzed every angle, but no explanation could fully account for the object's combination of silent movement, intelligent behavior, and unusual luminosity. For several nights following the initial sighting, the orb continued to appear intermittently. Residents reported seeing it hovering at night, casting a soft glow across the ancient city. The effect was mesmerizing. Shadows danced along historic stone walls, and the golden dome reflected the changing colors of the orb's light. People described an uncanny sense of connection, as if the object was observing not only the physical space but also the lives and emotions of those below. Religious scholars speculated on symbolic significance, scientists on technological possibilities, and ordinary citizens on the sheer wonder of witnessing something unexplained and beautiful in a world often dominated by routine. The 2011 Dome of the Rock UFO became one of the most widely documented and discussed urban UFO events of the decade. It joined the ranks of other high-profile sightings in major cities around the world, reinforcing the idea that UFOs do not limit themselves to remote locations or isolated incidents. The event combined historical context, religious significance, and modern technology to create an encounter that was unforgettable to those who witnessed it firsthand. Years later, the Dome of the Rock UFO remains a topic of study and speculation. The photographs, videos, and eyewitness testimonies continue to be analyzed by researchers seeking patterns, explanations, or confirmation of intelligence behind the sightings. Yet the orb maintains its mystery, reminding the world that even in places rich with human history and modern infrastructure, there exist phenomena that defy comprehension. For those who were present, the 2011 sightings were not just about lights in the sky, they were about the awe of encountering something entirely other, a silent messenger in the heavens above one of Earth's most iconic and sacred locations. Chapter 12. The Lima, Peru, UFO, 2015. On a warm evening in Lima, Peru, 2015, the city's streets were bustling with the usual traffic, street vendors calling out their wares, and the soft hum of daily life under the glow of sodium streetlights. Residents and visitors alike had no reason to suspect that the night sky was about to host an extraordinary event, something that would be recorded, replayed, and discussed worldwide. It began subtly, as a small pinprick of light hovering over the city skyline. At first, people assumed it was a plane, a drone, or perhaps a bright star appearing unusually low in the atmosphere. But as the minutes passed, it became clear that this was no ordinary object. The light grew brighter, shifting colors in a way that no commercial or private aircraft could replicate. Witnesses described it as pulsating, almost breathing, and moving with an intelligence that seemed deliberate rather than mechanical. Those on the streets began to stop, their eyes turning upward, phones raised, capturing video of what was unfolding. The glowing object maintained perfect silence, producing no engine hum or aerodynamic noise. Its movements were fluid, hovering above the city before suddenly darting across blocks in ways that defied conventional physics. Journalists on live television broadcasts began reporting the sighting in real time, and social media erupted with images, videos, and speculation. Local news crews filmed from rooftops, capturing a view of the city below with the mysterious orb in the sky above. Citizens described a sense of awe and unease, a feeling that something beyond normal human experience had arrived in their midst. Streetlights reflected off the orb's shimmering surface, creating a visual spectacle that seemed almost staged, yet entirely real. Witnesses noted that it occasionally split into 2 or 3 smaller lights that rotated around each other before merging back into a single, larger object. Residents of Lima offered incredible first-hand accounts. One pedestrian described the light as watching us, a feeling that went beyond simple observation. Another reported a strange sensation in their chest, a vibration, as if the air itself was responding to the object's presence. Children pointed and laughed, but many adults held a quiet reverence, unsure whether to feel fear, wonder, or disbelief. The event was not just visual. There was an almost tangible atmosphere of anticipation, as if the city itself had paused to witness this intrusion from the unknown. Multiple witnesses reported that the object moved in ways that would be impossible for conventional aircraft. It would hover, suddenly tilt, and accelerate in a fraction of a second without any visible propulsion. Its shape was ambiguous, sometimes described as spherical, other times more disc-like or oval. The orb's light could brighten and dim in perfect rhythm, almost like it was communicating with those below, sending patterns that humans could not immediately understand. The phenomenon lasted for hours, with intermittent appearances and sudden disappearances, only to reappear moments later over a different part of the city. Local authorities were alerted, though by the time police or aviation officials investigated, the object had already shifted positions. Radar scans in the area confirmed the presence of something unusual. Blips appeared on monitors, moving erratically, with velocities and flight patterns that did not match any known aircraft or drone. Yet no aircraft registrations, flight plans, or any human-operated devices corresponded with what was being seen. Pilots flying in the region also reported a glow in the distance, but attempts to approach were fruitless. The object seemed to vanish or accelerate away before interception. The Lima UFO sightings had a profound effect on residents. Many spoke of a shared experience, a communal acknowledgement that they had witnessed something extraordinary. Some likened it to the celestial phenomena of history, drawing parallels with centuries-old accounts from Nuremberg, Switzerland, and other locations. Others speculated on government involvement or advanced experimental technology, but for the majority, the night was a reminder that the universe still held mysteries beyond human understanding. Scientific and UFO researchers quickly analyzed the footage, photographs, and radar data. The event was cataloged as one of the most well-documented urban UFO sightings of the decade. The combination of eyewitness testimony, video evidence, and radar confirmation made it difficult for skeptics to dismiss outright. Analyses revealed the object's erratic flight paths, sudden accelerations, and silent operation, all behaviors inconsistent with conventional aircraft, drones, or atmospheric phenomena. Experts noted that its ability to manipulate light, appear and disappear, and move unpredictably suggested advanced technology or phenomena not yet understood. The Lima event also drew cultural and emotional responses. Residents reported feelings of connectedness, curiosity, and an acute awareness of their place under the vast sky. Religious interpretations surfaced, with some viewing it as a sign, a miracle, or an omen, while others marveled at the possibility of intelligent life observing Earth. Social media amplified the experience globally, as people shared, debated, and reinterpreted what they saw. Within days, videos from Lima had been viewed millions of times worldwide, sparking discussions on news networks, scientific forums, and online communities. Even years later, the 2015 Lima UFO remains a cornerstone in the study of urban UFO encounters. Researchers continue to study the footage and eyewitness accounts for patterns, correlations, and potential explanations. The sighting is cited in academic papers, UFO documentaries, and ongoing debates about extraterrestrial visitation. For those who witnessed it, the memory is vivid. The glowing orb, silent yet commanding attention, moving with precision and intelligence over one of South America's largest cities, leaving an indelible impression on all who looked up that night. The Lima UFO reminds us that even in densely populated, modern urban centers, the universe can still surprise us. It demonstrates that unexplained phenomena are not limited to remote deserts or rural landscapes, but can arrive above bustling streets, historical landmarks, and everyday life. The 2015 sighting encourages a sense of wonder, a recognition of the unknown, and a reminder that humanity's story under the sky is far from complete. For the people of Lima, that night was not just about lights in the sky, it was an encounter that touched hearts, inspired curiosity, and offered a glimpse of something truly otherworldly.